Welcome on into the Utah Blockcast. I'm Steve Bartle, Utah fan for KSL Sports. Good to be with you guys. Monday morning, recording this Sunday evening. Obviously, you can tell man, at some point, I'm just going to have to acknowledge that this is how I'm going to sound for the rest of my life. Because, man, that's what it's been like the last month, dealing with the, stuffy nose again. So here I am. I enlisted the help of the great one, Parker Van Dyke. He hopped on with me to record this episode and just have a good conversation about Utah basketball, big picture, fan base, the game Saturday night, his experiences, all of the above. It's a great conversation, and Parker's up to some really great things here locally, and I think he's got some great thoughts on Utah basketball, and I think people that are wanting to hear more Utah basketball coverage are going to really enjoy hearing what Parker had to say. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to stop talking because obviously I sound horrible, and we're just going to get to my conversation with Parker. So let's get to it. All right, Parker Van Dyke joining the Utah Blockcast. Man, this is for me personally, this one is long overdue. I was always nervous to reach out to you, Parker, because you provided some great Utah basketball moments, and just a legend up there on the hill to a lot of folks that follow Utah basketball closely. So finally worked up the courage to ask you to hop on the podcast, and appreciate you taking some time to join me here on the Blockcast, man.
Well, no, thank you. I'm happy to be on. I'm glad you finally reached out. I'm not a scary guy, so
No.
feel free. And I yeah, hopefully I'm not intimidating. So, and I love doing all this stuff all the time. Love talking about the Utes, and so was more than happy to receive the invitation to be on here. So happy to be here.
Love it, dude. You've been hard at work. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, so just kind of give us an update. What are you up to? I know you're doing some things, good people, good kind, and all types of stuff like that. Just what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, so for those who haven't been following, I guess since I've left the U in 2019, I've played professionally. Played in
Yeah.
Europe, played in the G League last year. This year, I had plans to play in the G League again, and those kind of fell through. And so I was at a little bit of a transitional phase going into this season. Wasn't sure if I was going to go back overseas or continue to play at all. And then I teamed up with a good friend of mine named Mike Goodkind, who works for the Utah Jazz, and we have started broadcasting local high school games,
That's
and
awesome.
hosting some public speaking events as well. So our network that we've created is called Good Kind Network, and where Mike is the play by play and I'm the color commentary guy. And it's been a lot of fun as we've kind of traveled around the state, done some top games, and kind of provided a platform for Utah's high school basketball talent, and it's kind of blown up. We've gone viral a few times and with some of our highlights and our clips, and it's been a fun experience. And so I'm kind of in this still, am I still a professional basketball player, or am I
Yeah.
transitioning out of it? I still don't know. I still like work out and I train all the time. Um, but that's kind of what I've got going on right now, and it's been a fun experience as we're trying to kind of build this thing into kind of like a premier network to showcase Utah's talent that we have here in the state.
Love that. I think that's a great thing, because there is a lot of talent, and the talent is only growing. Like, have seen it in football, seeing it more in basketball now, where you're seeing more and more kids, develop into college level players, and it's just a lot of fun. So that's great that you're, getting into that, and I think it's a great tool, a great thing to provide, a great platform to provide the local high school scene here.
It is, and it's a good way for me, as I'm staying involved in the game. It's a great way to stay involved in the game and also kind of give back to the community and give back to the state and give back to the players, because there was people ahead of me that did the same thing for me. And so that's kind of cool where I can, provide these players a platform. I get to be close with these teams and these coaches and try to provide some insight, because a lot of these players, everyone has aspirations to play at the next level, and so I can kind of shed some light on, okay, this is how you do that through commentating, which is something I've also wanted to do and be a part of, and broadcasting and stuff like that. And then I also do have to give a shout out to our producer Ben Anderson, who he's the guy who actually makes this all work because our product is
Yeah.
really good. It's really produced well, and it's because of him. He's got great camera work and does a great job there. So we're trying to be different than just the normal random crew that goes to high school
Yeah.
games. We're trying to be a little elevated, and it's been really fun. And again, like you're saying, highlighting Utah's great talents because it is growing, it's getting better, and we're hoping to move on into baseball and football as the season goes on.
That's incredible. That's so cool. So talking more about kind of the balancing act of what you're trying to pursue, with basketball, right? Trying to stay in shape, trying to stay, involved, engaged with the game and pursuing opportunities. What is that like genuinely like, right? Like, us as fans of programs, colleges, and seeing the athletes, you see them for 4 or 5 years, whatever it ends up. Now you see guys for 6, 7 years
Yeah.
sometimes. Um, but then, they move on and you hope that they stick in the league. But if not, a lot of guys go different leagues across the world. What is that all like managing all that?
Yeah, well, I guess I would first say, basketball as a basketball player and as an athlete, basketball will always be part of my life.
Yeah.
And so I guess first, when I left college, I always had a dream. I wanted to play basketball for as long as I could. And so having the opportunities to play professionally, basketball is a great sport because if you don't make the NBA, there's still plenty of opportunities to play in other leagues around the world. Um, and so that is a great experience in itself. And I could go on about my experiences in Europe and in the G League and whatnot. And this phase that I'm in now is this is the first season in my life I haven't been playing basketball.
Oh,
And
wow.
so you're trying what a lot of I'm trying to maintain a healthy relationship with the game because what a lot of times happen with players is they retire or they stop playing and they kind of have a little bit of an identity crisis because it's like,
Right.
well, I've always been a basketball player. Well, now what am I if I'm not? And I think a good advice I've received is trying to find another platform to stay involved in the game. So an easy transition for a lot of players is coaching. Um, and so I still consider myself a player. Like I said, I'm still like trying to stay in shape. I have received some offers to go back overseas. They haven't felt right, so I haven't accepted
Yeah.
them. But I'm kind of staying ready as if an opportunity did present itself, I would take it. While in the meantime, trying to figure out if this is the time for me to transition out of playing and if this broadcasting route is a way that is kind of like a healthy identity transition where I can still be a part of the game, still feel like it's a part of my life without having any kind of like crisis, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. And so I'm kind of juggling that right now, um, staying involved in the game in a healthy way where I could potentially transition out of playing.
That's awesome. And I think that's, for you to be involved with what you're doing in providing advice to athletes, you can speak to that. Like, that is something that a lot of athletes don't think about, right? It's all about
Hmm.
getting to college, getting to the league, and then that's it. Like, that is the end. And, once you get out of college, once you grow up a little bit, you realize there's a lot more to life than just basketball. So that's just another fantastic thing that you're doing, and just kind of adding to the development of the youth, and giving them good advice. I think that's fantastic, man.
No, and
Um,
yeah, thank you for saying that. And it's been a fun ride, and I think the future of Utah sports I think is bright, and it's something I've always been passionate about, and yeah, I hope I can continue to have an impact.
no, absolutely. Have you had a favorite moment doing it so far? Like a favorite call or something like that?
Oh man, we've had some great ones. We've done a few really good games. So we did Orem Timpview, which actually wasn't a great game, but the atmosphere was great, and there was like
Yeah.
five D1 players on the floor. Um, we
Yep.
just did Highland Olympus,
Ooh,
which was a really good game. The two of the top teams in 5A. Highland got the win at Olympus, and there was a lot of big moments there. I got to do play by play on that one, so I had some fun
oh, that's
calls.
cool.
People have to check out our Instagram, Good Kind Network, to see the calls itself. And then one thing that was interesting for me was that I'm an East High guy, obviously,
Yep.
and we
Yep.
did East Cottonwood, and East and Cottonwood are two of the best teams in 4A. and that was hard for me. I kept saying, I was having to fight the urge to say we,
Yep.
as East, like, oh, we need to be better. We need to be better at spacing the floor. We need to rebound better. Um, and because I've also got cousins on the team as well. And so, but it was a fun experience. It's funny, you go to East. I go to East as a player. I've been as a fan. I've coached there, and then to go as like broadcasting the game, it was kind of another fun transition. But there's been a lot of great moments. There's some good teams this year, and the state tournament's going to be a lot of fun for multiple classifications in the state of Utah.
That's awesome. Yeah, learning how to be an unbiased media member,
Yeah.
it's tough, dude. It's tough.
Mhm. Yeah, because
Well,
there's rich connections, like there's rich
yeah,
connections to these places, and rich rivalries. Like Highland Olympus were my rivals growing up, so
that's a big one.
having to be
Yeah,
yeah,
those
having to make sure I'm not biased against them either.
right, right. Love that, dude. I want to go back to your playing days real quick. I wanted to bring up my favorite moment, the game winning shot down in Los Angeles against UCLA. I was actually down there for a high school football camp, a Nike camp. It was the Nike opening 2017. I think CJ Stroud was there, Bryce Young was there. I was down there, and it just coincided with Utah UCLA that same weekend, and I was so new to the media stuff still, but I got a credential. I went to the game, and I'm up in the press box, and the press box is way up top. It's second level, upper bowl, and Utah, UCLA gets out to the big lead. It's comfortable. Then you guys start coming back. You start chipping away,
Mhm.
and I want to hear your thoughts. Walk us through that final play because I lost. I was in the press box. I lost it. I jumped out of my seat. I was like, "Oh!" I had one of those moments. One of those wee moments that
Yeah.
just the connection there. It was incredible. Just walk us through that play.
Yeah, wow. What an amazing moment. I'll never get tired of telling it. I mean, it's one
I
that
love that.
lives
Yeah.
that will live on forever, and it's such a
Yeah.
special moment I get to share with my coaches and my teammates from that team. And um man, I going back just a little bit. So we're down 22 with about 14
Yeah.
minutes left.
Yeah.
And what's dangerous about that is we kind of all looked around in the huddle and we were like, do you know what? We got the win at USC a couple nights earlier. Your goal in the Pac 12 is you pretty much just want to split on the road
Yeah.
and take care of your games at home. And so we kind of created this feeling of like, hey, we've got nothing to lose. And that's when a team is dangerous,
Yeah.
when they are playing loose, confident, and free with nothing to lose. And so that's what led to this comeback where we just kind of started shooting the lights out, playing really well. Because hey, we're down by 22. It can't get much worse.
Yeah.
We made a transition. Usually the four-man in our offense would take the ball out of bounds, but about 2 minutes left in the game, Coach Connor, the assistant, we made an adjustment for me to take the ball out after UCLA would score. So then I could always trail the play. So it
Right.
was kind of a play that the coaches put in a few minutes prior. Um, so obviously UCLA's at
Interesting.
the line, they make one of two, and then I take the ball out, we're down two. And as I'm trailing the play, I remember running down the floor, and it's such a cool memory because you're running down the floor. It's John Wooden Court
Yep.
on at Pauley Pavilion, and you've got all the championship
Banners.
banners
Yep.
and all the retired numbers, Bill Walton and Reggie Miller and all those guys. And as I was running down the floor, I had never been more calm in my life. I was so
Wow.
calm and confident running down the floor. It just felt like I was moving in slow motion, honestly. And as I'm trailing the floor, Cedric Bearfield does a great job because in this play, you're kind of acting like a passer and a screener. And so Cedric kind of crosses over to my defender to kind of screen him and turns and flips it to me as I come behind him. And again, nothing to lose mentality, right? And I just caught it and
Yep.
just leaped up and just shot it with all the confidence in the world. And then when it went in, it was pure euphoria. I mean, one of the best celebrations you can ever see, and everyone's running on the court, and I mean, just stunned. I mean, half
Yep.
the crowd, the Utah fans are going crazy, and then everyone else is just stunned. Like, what just happened? We just gave up that lead, and an unbelievable experience. That was just like 5 minutes of just pure euphoria, just
Yep.
chaos. Um, but man, a
It was
special one.
incredible. It was incredible. I'll never forget it. Like I'm literally remember the play from where I was, my view, remember it perfectly. Just you pulling up, little right hand, and just nailing it, dude. It was great. And like I the reactions from the crowd. There were so many gifs after the game
Oh
that I
yeah.
have them ingrained in my skull, dude. Like it's just one of those moments you'll never forget, and it was incredible. So, thank you, Parker. Thank you for that. I've
Yeah.
waited all this time to say that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, hey, I loved it. It's and for me as a local kid, and I'm sure we'll get into this, it meant so much to me to have not everyone wants it, you grow up 3-2-1, you
Yep.
you practice
Yep.
these game winning shots. But what made it so great for me is that I was a Utah kid, a Utah fan, and I did it in a Utah jersey.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes it so special is that when you go through the highlights of Utah history, that I have a shot in that history, like to me, that's worth it all. That's worth all the hard work. That's worth all the disappointments, all the losses. Like that is really special. And it's again, it's something that I bond over with those coaches and those teammates and with a lot of the fans. Fans still come
Right.
up to me like at the game the other day, like fans come up to me and we can bond over that. And that's what's so special about sports is creates these bonding relationships through moments like that.
Absolutely. And that's a good way to segue into Utah basketball. You were there Saturday night. It was alumni night, Utah versus Oklahoma State. And the program is at such an interesting, fascinating point right now with Alex Jensen in year one. And, there's been unfortunately, a lot of apathy that has set in with the program, not with the program, but with the fan base. And you're starting to see that slowly, fade away. You're starting to see more people out at games. You're starting to see more people talk about the memories at games, and the experiences at games. And for just to kind of build on your last little point, there is the Utah, they have the layup line where kids can come down, they can shake hands. I was talking with a buddy of mine. He brought his two kids to the game last night, and they were able to go down, get high fives from everybody in the layup line. And that was something that they talked about. The kids, they talked about that the rest of the night. And for
Mhm.
him, my buddy, it was such a special moment. So, you know, to get to the game itself and just where the program is at, what are your thoughts on, Utah basketball, the fan base coming back? Like, what does it mean to you to start to see that turn back to what we knew it as, right? You're
Mhm.
you grew up with Utah basketball being pretty high profile, pretty prolific, fan base showing up each and every game. How good is it to see that start to see the crowds file back into the Huntsman Center?
It's great to see, and it's exciting and it's special, kind of like what you're saying with your friend and his kids. I was that kid.
Yeah,
I had those special moments there, and the Huntsman Center is a special place. There is rich history there, and it can really get rocking. As we saw from that
yeah,
BYU game, when it gets full and the crowd is into it, it really gets going. I was at the BYU game in Provo as well. The Marriott Center is a great atmosphere. The Huntsman Center, that game at the Huntsman Center was better. It was louder.
yeah,
There was more. It was more electric. And so I think when people are coming back, they're getting reminded of these special moments. And Alex Jensen being at the head of this is what I think is a huge component because he's such a familiar guy. He's connected to the glory days, which everyone loves. He's a Utah guy, so he understands. Um, and as people are coming to the program, as our people are coming back to the games, they're reminded of those things, and they're reminded of these memories and what our potential is, like what the potential of the Huntsman Center is, and what the potential of the program is. And what I like to see at this point of the year, and this is one of my hopes, and I don't know if it's even possible in college basketball now. One of my hopes is player retention, and I say that because this is the part of the year where now the fans start to have a connection with the players on the current team. And so you're there, and there's the starting lineups. And for the first couple of months, the fans don't really know these guys, but now we know these guys. So when you call Terrence Brown's name, he gets a big cheer
yeah.
because the
Yep.
fans know him. And one huge thing, if it can be done in this day, is if you can get the same guys wearing the Utah uniform this year, if you can get a handful of those guys to return next year, and that is what's that player retention is such a key thing because these fans, they want to cheer for the same guy multiple years
Right.
in a row. Um, and so it's special. And so there's potential. And you can kind of feel a little bit of the excitement. I think that's a big reason why Alex is the guy right now as the head coach.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I'd be curious your thoughts, right? You were a Ute, not too long ago. Um, just how different, what are your thoughts on how different the game is now?
Oh my goodness.
That's a loaded question, I know.
There's so much. So the NIL thing, the whole thing, there's so many good things about it. I think it's
Yeah.
great that these players are getting paid and getting the money that a lot of them really deserve. I try not to think about how much money they're making because I missed out. I missed out, and my teammates and I missed out on some good money
Right.
opportunities. But what I what I just hope is that, well, one, here's the thing. No matter how much money there's involved, the things that will the characteristics and the traits and the things that will make you successful as a player will never change, right? Attitude,
Right.
hard work, discipline, coachability, all of those things, leadership, all of those things, those will never change in order to make you a great player. So even though there's so much money involved, the path to success is the same. Now, again, where I would like to see if some rules implemented where players have to sign multi-year contracts, where they have incentives to stay again. So then you can really build off these relationships. You can build off these teams rather than it becomes like professional free agency basketball where every year you've got new people, new players, because that's one thing that I had that these players don't is this sense of culture and team and unity that you get when you're at a program and a place for multiple years. So you brought up alumni day was at the game.
Yep.
And so all
Right.
those alumni came out on the floor and they were all honored. And so you got guys like Josh Grant, Byron Wilson, and Britton Johnson, and Jeff Johnson, Tim Drisden. All of them played at the Utah for 3 to 4 years. And
Yep.
as I was thinking, and so the fans got to know them and cheer for them. And as I was thinking, I'm like, what is this going to look like in 10 years when the alumni come back? Is there going to be
Yeah.
anyone on the court who played longer than 1 year at Utah?
Yeah.
And so there's so many good things. It's the wild, wild west. There's so many rules. There was so many rules back then, but now there's none. I would like to just see there's some way where they can get in some structure where people are incentivized to stay,
Right.
um, rather than just being poached every year for more money.
I think that's such an important factor, right? Because you are seeing it. You are seeing the fans, latch on to the Terrence Browns and the Don McHenrys, who unfortunately is a senior, but you've
Yeah.
got Keanu Dawes and other guys. But you see that, and I think it says a lot about I think what Alex is doing with the product on the floor as well. And I would be curious your thoughts. A year one in a rebuild like this, it's going to take time,
Yeah.
especially with the way that Alex wants to go about it, building it the right way. I think to kind of your point, to look for those players that want to be here 2, 3, maybe 4 years, just feels so greedy to try and say guys are going to be at one place for 4 years now, which is unfortunate. But
Hmm.
what are your thoughts on Alex and the way that he's gone about trying to rebuild Utah basketball?
Well, I think he's done a great job, and it's a hard job. Let's put it this way. I
It
mean,
is.
you got to think there's so many growing pains. So you look back, and he not only he accepted the job pretty early, but he came in late because he finished the season with the Mavericks.
Sure.
Whole new staff, whole new team. So that alone is very hard. And then you have to adjust to the college game. You leave the program and you adjust to the college game, which is way different, especially coaching players. And then, so not only are you adjusting to that, but you're adjusting to the new format of college where everyone is adjusting to the way college basketball is done now. So
Yeah.
there's a lot. But I will say, from my interaction with the staff and from what I've seen on the floor, is I'm extremely hopeful and optimistic. Of course, it hasn't been perfect. Um, but I am hopeful that this staff is going to figure it out and start to build. We're going to start to see some serious progress, which we have been the last couple weeks. I think
Yeah.
the Oklahoma State game, I think we took a step back with our performance, but we have been trending upward. And I think you give this staff just a year under their belt, they're going to be able to bring together some players who I think are going to represent Utah really well. And And these guys understand how important recruiting character is. And there's going to be some rules implemented, I know, about where these guys are going to be signing multi-year contracts. So with all that being said, there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot
Yeah.
of unknown, but I am erring on the side of hope and optimism when it comes to Alex and his staff. And so I think there are bright days ahead for the Utes.
I do too. And talking to Wes and talking to Alex, there was a steep learning curve in, acclimating to the college level. You got to think, right? Like they've been in the league. They haven't been recruiting high school players. They've been evaluating the college talent. Obviously, they're keeping an eye on the high school players, but that's like the top, tenth of a percent that they're keeping an eye on. And so now it's just so much more that they had to learn and become familiar with. But I think there should be a lot of optimism with those two specifically as they continue to ingrain themselves in the college game. But I would be curious, Parker, now that you've kind of played, you've finished your career, you've played professionally, as you're watching, the Utah, you're watching the Runnin Utes against Oklahoma State. What were your thoughts on some of the offensive things that they were doing, some of the defensive things that you were doing? Just what were your thoughts on what we saw on the floor?
Well, I think offensively towards the end of the game, and I think this is pretty obvious, but Don McHenry and Terrence Brown are so talented offensively. They're extremely talented scorers. Um, but it comes to a point where I think teams really hone in on them, and
Yeah.
they force them to take and make really tough shots. And we right now our offense towards the end of the game, especially when it's crunch time, we rely on Don and Terrence to make like really really tough shots and really hard plays, and they're talented enough to do that occasionally, but it's hard to win games like that consistently when you are taking a lot of tough difficult shots. And that's kind of what I saw Oklahoma State forcing the Utes to do. And so again, I think just with more time as we're playing together, and as Alex kind of gets more of a system in place, you'll find it where they can be able to beat teams by committee rather
Yeah.
than one or two guys just making really tough plays. And you don't want to take that away from Terrence and McHenry because they are talented and they can do that. But you do need to find this balance is when the whole defense is focused on you, you got to find ways to kind of score by committee and things like that. And then defensively, you got to tip your hat off to Oklahoma State. I thought offensively they did some really good things, and they've really grown. We actually can learn from them because last year they were in a similar spot as us, and they've kind of taken a step forward this year. Um, there's just some I think some immature basketball immaturity, a little mistakes, some IQ
Sure.
mistakes. So Oklahoma State had that lefty who once he hit his third three, he shouldn't be getting off any more threes. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Little things like that. Rebounding, defensive rebounding for us has always been a challenge. Things like that. But last game, I expected us to win that game, so it's a little bit of a disappointing loss because I thought we could have won that. And like I said, I think we took a step back. But a lot of that game, I look at that, and I'm just like, do you know what? It's just a little bit of inexperience and a little bit of lack of playing together. Um, and and the league is tough, man. This Big 12 league is
It
tough.
is.
There's gonna be no easy games. But those are just some things that I saw from last night that hopefully the Utes can improve because we've got another winnable game against Arizona State coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're starting to see the fan base really get attached to this program again. I think you're starting to see the apathy fade away and dissipate, and I think you're going to continue to see fans show up for this program. I think there is a lot of excitement and I think intrigue around what this program can be. Obviously, Saturday night, as you referenced, it was a step back. It was a hiccup. It was, they uh, unfortunately just didn't continue on the upward trend that they were on coming into that game. And I think it was unfortunate because you were building something really positive, and unfortunately you took a step back. You tripped up, but that's okay. That's college basketball, especially in the
Hmm.
Big 12. So I think you're going to see this team bounce back, and I think Alex referenced it in his post game press conference. Just these guys, they've got high basketball character. They've got character. They know what they need to do, and I think you'll see this team bounce back. How important is that, right? The locker room having guys with character, having guys that have been through it before to kind of lead you through those difficult times. How important are those guys?
It's huge. You can't even put a price on it. Like it's hard to quantify now that we're talking about money. It's hard to measure and it's hard to quantify what that means because one weak link or one bad attitude, one bad apple can ruin a whole locker room. And so having guys who are leaders and who are positive and who have great energy is such a big deal and such a huge thing. And when you have a team that's collectively like that, when you have great energy and great attitude, it's energy and attitude is contagious. And so you're either giving energy through your energy or you're an energy vampire, we used to call it, because you're sucking energy with your bad attitude and things like that. And so from the outside looking in, I haven't been inside the locker room, but I have appreciated how this team has still seemed with little success, they still have seemed to come out every game and have at least fought. And they
Yeah.
seem to have enjoyed playing together and have had good attitudes and have pretty much kind of embraced playing together and still have been striving to be competitive and to win, which is refreshing to see because I've seen a lot of teams when they're in this situation as youth, they just, they're last place and they just hang it up,
Yeah.
especially in today's game. Like, oh, I'll just, I'm going to enter the portal at the end of the year, move on, and it's no big deal. But from my vantage point, it does seem like these guys they're sticking together and they're like, hey, we know we're better than this and we need to do better. Um, but yeah, that locker room, like attitude, energy, that is so important. And that's something that really translates on the floor. So from my vantage point, I think they've done a good job of that.
Well, Parker, man, we've gone. I said we would go 20 minutes and we've gone 30. And I haven't even brought up the best part of what I was hoping to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead. We'll pull up this little video clip, and I would be curious. You can either do the play-by-play or you can do the color commentator. But we'll finish this up with this little video here.
Yeah,
this is Parker Van Dyke last night. Yep.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it feels great to be back on that court shooting some threes. But yeah, after they honored the alumni at halftime, they had Tim Drisdom and Byron Wilson and myself go out there and just shoot threes for 30 seconds to see who could make the most threes. And I was the youngest alumni on the court by about 12, 15 years. So I got out there. I think Byron made 6 threes, Tim made 7, and I'm like, well, I'm the youngest guy out here. I still train pretty much every day, so I better win. So
you got to go there, dude.
I got it going a little bit. I needed the first 2. I missed the first 2 shots to warm up, but once I got rolling, I think I went 11 for 16. So I'll take it. But man, it felt great actually. That was the first time I had been back on the floor since my senior night versus UCLA in 2019.
Oh, wow.
So like being back on the floor and just to feel the presence of the crowd and to take a shot on the court. I mean, that was like another dream come true. And again, if I could just finish with this note, like being on the court there as an alumni with the other alumni is such an honor because I'm standing next to guys that I either grew up watching. Like I have a picture of me as a little kid with Tim Drisdom when he was on the Utes, right?
Yep.
So I either grew up watching them or I grew up hearing stories about them, right? I grew up hearing about Byron Wilson, the Johnson brothers, and Josh Grant and all these guys, and Donnie Daniels as a coach. And so it was such an honor to me to be there. And I think everyone in attendance again was just reminded, like, oh yes, that's what this program is about. That's what this program can be. And Alex is connected to that. And so Alex can be the guy to bring us back some of those memories. And it was a hopeful, even though we lost, it was like a hopeful vibe and energy within the Huntsman Center. And so it's great to see that and it's great to feel that again.
That's a great note to end on, Parker. And I'll echo the same sort of sentiment. Grew up going to the Keith Van Horn basketball camps, the University of Utah basketball camps, did it all. I think I've got a photo of me. Alex Jensen was my coach during one of those camps. Like, it's just so cool to feel that connection to that era again. And I think you're starting to see the people come out and refamiliarize themselves with that feeling yet again. And I think, like you said, there's reason to be hopeful. There's reason to be optimistic, and I think much brighter days ahead for Utah basketball. So Parker, man, thanks so much for taking a half hour to chop it up with me on this one. You've been great. Let the people know where they can find you and keep tabs on you.
Yeah, no, thank you again for having me on. Always love talking about the Utes anytime. So me on Instagram, Parker
Would
Van
love
Dyke
it.
on
Yep.
Instagram, and then Good Kind Network is our network Instagram page. You can follow us. We're going 2 more games this week, 2 big games this week in the state of Utah to get ready for the state tournament. And for all those Utah fans out there who have either given up on basketball or faded away, like we're saying, if you come, you will realize and remember how special our program is and can be, and the rich history we have. And so just keep on coming and have some belief and some hope that we can get to where we want to go.
Parker, great stuff, man. For myself, for Parker, this has been the Utah Blockcast signing off.